Take us through draft day for you. I mean, that's your game day. What are you doing when you wake up and feet hit the floor on draft day?
I love the draft. I've been running our draft since 2003, and I still run the draft as the GM. I still run the meetings. Still as involved as I was when I was the scouting director, the assistant GM. I just love the draft. I mean, there's nothing in my life other than my family that gives me as much satisfaction as the draft, as actually the weekend of the draft. I sleep probably 4 hours the entire weekend. I get home on Thursday night, so that's the first round. I get home usually around, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I sleep for about an hour and a half, and I wake up, and I just go into the office and start working on the next day, the game plan, the board, restacking the board based on what we've done and based on who's been selected. I love the strategy of the draft. I love the evaluation. I love to see who falls to us. I love the trades. It's just something that, it's just incredibly rewarding for me to, it's like planning a conference like this. It takes a year to do, right? And it's incredible when it finishes up, and but I'll tell you, when it's over, like, I go into a major depression for like 5 days. I have this tremendous void in my life. It's like nothing is able to fill that void. Like, I'm tired, I have no energy, and I'm depressed. And it only sort of fades when the new players come in. So we usually have a mini camp the week after the draft, and when all the rookies come in. So by that Friday, I'm getting fired up again to see these guys. But I love the draft. Like, we are full into draft prep right now. I'm looking at a ton of players, all the local pro days. We have a pro day next week. We'll have some Penn State guys over next week. We had Chop Robinson in this week to visit with us, spend some time with him. But we're going to all the workouts in all the colleges. Our next set of draft meetings are in April with the coaches. We'll have a chance to talk about the players. I just love the process. It's just like the idea that you start with 2,000 prospects, and then by the end you have 125 ranked from first to worst. Most of our draft picks will have anywhere between 7 to 10 picks a year. Historically, all of our picks will come from our 125 to 150 best players. So all my time is basically staring at this list, restacking. Then at the end, I take my list that is basically my evaluations along with the scouts and coaches, and then we take a model and we blend it together. And that's the list that we use to pick from.
Without giving away too much strategy, when you go into that first round, what are you balancing your board versus what you need the most, the best available? Like, how are you, and do you go into the day kind of knowing who you think is going to fall to you and who you think you're going to pick, and then sometimes it doesn't play out that way?
So this is like one of those discussions that you have. Every team is different. Every fan is different. Okay. The question really is, does a responsible team draft best available player, right, or draft need-based? And we've always been best available player, but I would always say that it's murky at best, because if we're picking and there's a quarterback available in the first round, and he's the best player, we're not going to draft him. We've got a great quarterback. So you do take need into account, but all things being equal, if you've got a bunch of players, right, and they're all graded sort of the same, then you take the best player. Okay, now, if you've got a need at a position and they're all sort of the same, and they're that close, take the need. But I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, we had, I think it was the 13th pick, and we had a couple guys we liked. We didn't have a huge need at safety, okay? The Eagles traded up above us. They were picking behind us. They traded in front of us, and they took Davis from Georgia, the defensive tackle. Excellent player. For us, though, Kyle Hamilton was so high on our board And we didn't necessarily need a safety. We had Chuck Clark, and we just paid Marcus Williams, two very good players. But we had Kyle rated so high on the board. We could have drafted a player at another position that would have filled a bigger need for us, but Kyle was just up there. We had to take him. It would have been irresponsible for us not to take him, given his ability. You have to have talented players. You have to have like freaks to win consistently. So generally, I feel that you draft best available player. And so what I try to do is when we stack our players, stack from best player to worst player. Now, again, positional value and things like that. There are some positions. In other words, you might have a player at one position who you could argue is a better player at his position than another player at another position. But if that other player is playing corner or pass rusher or left tackle, you have to maybe weigh that differently because those positions are so critical in the NFL. In the end, though, for us, we're drafting best available player every single time along the way. It drives some people crazy because it means we might pass up a need potentially that we have on our team. But we're doing it because we truly feel that the player that we're selecting is the best player for our team at that time.